Hey guys, Mike here. So, about what a day on Friday, and especially over the weekend, you can clearly tell this is a rotation, or has been a rotation since the election, into high beta, risk on type stuff, and stuff that loves to squeeze, as you saw. And I'll show you what I'm talking about with Tesla gamma squeezing on Friday. Every time you look, it just kept going up and up and up and up, even though the market wasn't really doing that. And then what do you see over the weekend? Crypto just mooning, right? Going crazy. But the truth is, when you pull out, not really so much for like the altcoins, but you may think it is. But again, it's been a big move. And when it comes to those kind of charts, by the way, for those who don't do them, just keep it simple. I'll show you what I'm talking about when it comes to crypto. But you got Upstart at 45, 48% in one session on Friday, and that's about as high beta or risk on as it gets. And you may have thought they hung the moon, had like an NVIDIA type earnings, but they did not. It was good earnings, but nothing like that. But again, we've talked about those stocks before, and I'll go more into that probably in tomorrow's video because I got a lot to cover here today. But again, I'll show you, I mean, when you look at the numbers going forward here, especially during the presidential election year, that's pretty amazing thing. So we're going to go into a lot of that stuff. But when you look, I'm curious to get it because I'm seeing all the tweets and everything and stuff on social media about this. But where do you think we're at on this little scale here? Okay, do you think we're in the stealth phase, the awareness phase, which I think we've obviously passed, but then there's the mania phase. I think a lot of people think we're here. This is when you have the media start going, oh my God, look at this, and then enthusiasm, greed, euphoria. Then you get the blow-off phase, which of course, already getting questions about that. Always setting it for a blow-off top, right? So I'm just curious, put in the comments where you believe we're at, and not just that, put why you believe it, right? Because you're seeing what's going on in crypto, and you may think, oh man, it's got to be euphoria, right? And then you pull out on a lot of stuff like Ethereum and others and realize how far down they actually are from their all-time highs. Unlike Bitcoin, of course, which continues to set an all-time high, but it's not like super way above, right, its previous all-time high, right? And when you look, I mean, this is clearly what we talked about leading into this is the seasonality. I showed you in Saturday's video a little different, but again, it's usually really positive right after the election, going up through December for most presidents. And how do we know this? Because I can look right over here for you and show you. This is Joe Biden's. This is Donald Trump's in 2016, right? Look at the numbers. I mean, it's crazy. Look at 3 months to 6 months out. That's what I really want you to focus on. Big time numbers. The S&P is up huge, right? Go back to Obama, right? Oh, wait, we're in a crash. It didn't even matter. But then look at 2012 and he got elected, right? 3 and 6 months. And so up a lot. If you look at stuff that's not even had anything to do with presidential elections, this right here is looking at the S&P 500 performance in the last 7 weeks of the year when trailing calendar is up 10% or more, and we know we're way up more than 10% in the S&P, right? And as usual, you know me, I mean, you look at this, it breaks it down by a week, but then to the right is the actual 7 weeks. And when you look, you see a whole lot of green, okay? And we'll just go, let's say from 1990 on up right here. Look to the right column right there. And you see some decent numbers. I mean, 8% there in 2023, but there's no negative, right, in the last 7 weeks. When you go week by week, you get to see it 1 week here, maybe negative, but for the most part, it's all positive, whether it's flat, up 1%, up 1.5%, whatever. And so you're going to get your pullbacks, no doubt about that right there, right now in this crazy, move up right now. But, that's what you're up against for the next 7 weeks if you're trying to short this market probably. And when you look at Tesla, you saw it Friday, right, just squeezing and squeezing. You thought, my God, is this thing ever going to pull back or anything? And that's to the very end of the day. But what happened was, and I put this in, I started trying to track this for members and stuff, and you see at 10:30, I put that in, it had already been squeezing by 10:30. But when you look at the gamma levels, and I kept looking at the 320, and I thought, man, we weren't even at 320 at that point in time. And I thought, wow, that thing keeps increasing, right? 55 million in positive gamma. And you see over here, the yellow line is going to be your calls. The red line is going to be the puts, which didn't exist, by the way, below the zero line. And the upper line right there is Tesla, right? The chart. It's just going up. And you see as those calls keep going up, the call volume, you see here comes Tesla ramping. That's how it moves, right? You see the volume at the bottom right there when that's green moving up like that. The stock is going to continue to go up, especially once it broke above what? 300. And that was really key. Once it broke above 300, that opened the floodgates for people to just come fumbling in with calls, okay? And that's why this is a gamma squeeze. You look over here. This was probably 2.5 hours and later, maybe. And you can see now we're up to positive 85 million in gamma on that same strike. And we've already reached it at that point in time. Already surpassed it actually at that point in time. And so again, just kept pushing and pushing. And so when you want to know, if you're unfamiliar what a gamma squeeze is, we've seen multiple of them now, but a gamma squeeze is a sudden and sharp increase in stock's price that occurs when market makers are forced to buy more shares of the underlying stock to hedge their positions. How does it happen? When many investors buy call options for a stock, the price of the stock increases. This triggers market makers to buy more shares of the stock to protect their positions. The higher price then encourages more call buying, which leads to more buying by market makers and so on. When does it happen? Gamma squeezes can be caused by a number of factors, including unexpected news, presidential election, right? High volatility, which we had, short trades, limited access, or collusion, okay? And it can go on for 1 day, 2 days, or a week, whatever. And you can see, I mean, just squeezing. And again, we talked about the 0.79 fib up there at the top right there. Did not hit it. I thought we were going to get to 334. We did not get to 334. Look at that weekly candle, by the way. Oof, my goodness. But when you look, support at the bottom if this decides to finally cool off. Right there around 316.45 is what you'd like to see hold. And then when you look at 0.79, that is 334. All right, I mean, again, if it goes up, let's see what happens at that point in time, because 300 was the call wall, and it blew right through it and then just melted up. Palantir is another one. Once it reached all-time highs, we knew. You see just a crazy move in just 4 trading sessions, right? And so far, it has hit those fibs that I put in there a few weeks ago to the T. 59.64 is a 1.618 fib. And so we'll see if this is going to continue to push. When you look at it, you go, wow, a lot of these stocks, they need some breathers here, some consolidation, a little pullback. Yeah, you would think that, that's for sure. And so, we'll see what happens. But again, when you go over, I told you these stocks, as soon as they break that all-time high, man, there's no resistance up top. And if people start flowing in to them, boom, you get that right there. That is the reaction. So what you want to see a hold is like 55.79, 51.28, like these fib levels coming down. That's what you want to see it hold if that's going to be the case. Now, when these things do pull back, you're going to get a really good pullback. Mark my words on that. Now, SPY, you can see these right here. We're going to go out on the weekly, okay? You see the bullish MACD cross, the bounce, never got the bearish MACD cross. You see that trend line. It's right at the trend line. You're seeing all these things kind of coming into, somewhat resistance. Does it finally get rejected and take a breather? That's what we got to figure out. You see the weekly candles are enormous. Same thing happened with the MACD on this on the weekly. Did not have a bearish MACD cross, just bounced, okay? Well, it was going to go bearish, and it did not. And so, and again, I showed on Saturday, or some of these, especially on the weekly, showing bearish divergence. Absolutely they are, but that can take forever to play out if it plays out. It doesn't have to play out, right? IWM, I mean, look at that freaking weekly candle. Oh my goodness, you'd be hard-pressed to find another weekly candle like that, to be honest with you. And I look at the chart, and, same thing with the MACD, did not have a bearish MACD cross right there. Now, understand, when I adjust this for dividends, which is what I do, it's an all-time high. When you unadjust it, and you don't adjust for dividends, it's not at an all-time high. And so some people unclick that and they'll use the previous all-time high on the unadjusted as maybe a tool to see what the top could be or when you may get a pullback. But I like to adjust for dividends, and so that's just me. Let me know what you do. Now, looking at a trend line here, let's see what happens. There's another one just like the SPY where you're sitting there hitting this trend line, and that's where it stopped on Friday. So let's see if we get a breather, start to pull back down to some of these levels right here. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for on IWM. But again, small caps are high beta, right? Risk on, and that's what's been happening. You see crypto, every 15 minutes is going up, but when you look at it, it's still like 30% below all-time highs. But understand, again, it was on the weekly, that bullish MACD cross. When you get these bullish MACD crosses on a weekly, monthly, all that stuff, it's going to go. Okay, it's just the way it is. No matter who gets elected president, it helps that somebody is pro, crypto, don't get me wrong. But also keep it simple, right? Like fibs work, okay, on crypto. Moving averages, trend lines, right? You can see it's just bouncing 0.5, 1.272, 1.5 there, 1.618, or you get rejected. And so these work, okay? These MACDs, these RSIs. Also, the 200 moving average, especially on Ethereum. Okay, we talked about this. I said if it breaks 200 moving average, things going to go. Why do we know that? Because we can look at the past. Okay, when it breaks above that 200, same thing if it gets rejected from the 200. Right, we're going down. And so right now, what you want to look for if you're in Ethereum, again, it's 30% below all-time high. You may look and go, this move is insane. And then you kind of go, oh, wait a minute, look at the past. Not really. And so you need to stay above the 200 moving average. That's going to be key for it right now. So maybe we get something like this, a back test. We'll see. All right, that's what we got to figure out. And again, these are bullish months for crypto as well. And now that it's risk on, more people getting in. It's easier to get access to them and all that good stuff. Now, real quick, you might have saw some news, the morning news brief I put in here about China. They did really approve a $1.4 trillion lifeline, but in stimulus But Chinese stocks, they really didn't like it. What didn't they like about it, though? And this is what China tends to do, which kind of is stunning to me. But what they did was they approved $1.4 billion in lifeline, but stopped short of unleashing new stimulus, preserving room to respond to a potential trade war when Donald Trump takes office next year. Officials unveiled details of a program to refinance hidden local debt onto public balance sheets at a press briefing in Beijing on Friday. Funds for that program telegraphed last month, but without a price tag or time frame, will be provided through 2028, they said, after the move was authorized by the nation's top lawmakers body. While policymakers didn't announce measures to directly stimulate domestic demand, the finance minister promised more forceful fiscal policy next year, signaling bolder steps could be coming. And of course, they're worried about if Trump's going to put tariffs on and all that fun stuff. So it just wasn't what the market was looking for. And when you look at this, now you're starting to see, again, we talked about this. Bob is breaking this trend line. Does it go down to 0.79 fib? That's what we got to start seeing. You look at Baidu, it's coming down to 0.79 fib. So you got this big pullback now. Does it hold that trend line down there? So that's what we got to look at. It's consolidating right now. But a lot of this, remember, all this big move up here is what? It was stimulus. It wasn't that their economy was going to be fixed and the real estate market was looking great. It was stimulus related, as we call them, stimmy gaps, right? I think that's what I've quoted as saying they are. And so we'll see if this comes down, and then you finally get your bounce, because that's where you get a lot of bounces from. But will it be some crazy move back up? That's what we got to see. We got to figure out what they're really going to do on stimulus, but the market really didn't like it at that time. And plus, a lot of people are just going to American stocks and crypto right now. Now, when it comes to earnings next week, got a whole boatload. Shopify, Home Depot, C on Tuesday right here. Pay attention to those. Pay attention to like Bitfarms, anything with crypto, okay? Then you're going to end up with Marathon Digital, Kava, Spotify, Oxy, which you think would be decent, right? And then on Wednesday, when we come over here, you're going to have Hut 8. And a lot of the miners for crypto are actually reporting and stuff. And so Hut 8, Hive, and then Cisco as well will be a big one to look for. And then on Thursday, we'll have Walt Disney reporting, Intuitive, maybe looking for JD.com's be another one. Advanced Auto Parts be something to watch out for. And then we'll have Applied Materials, AST, Space Mobile, because the space stocks have been on fire. And then looking at Friday, you have Alibaba. So, of course, you have two of these names reporting. So it could be a catalyst for them. That's what we got to figure out and see what they say on their guidance calls. And then when it comes to data, it's a lot lighter. Monday will be open, but the bond market will be closed and banks will be closed as well. Tuesday, nothing really to speak of. Wednesday, you have core CPI, month over month, CPI month over month, CPI year over year. And then Thursday, core PPI month over month. And then regular PPI month over month, and unemployment claims, and then there's natural gas storage, crude oil inventories. And then Friday, you have core retail sales month over month, and then regular retail sales month over month, and then Empire State Manufacturing Index, which I expect still to be a disaster. And so again, slower week as far as earnings and the data. But again, we're going to see if high beta and risk on is still going to be the sentiment here. Do we finally get a breather? So please let me know what you think down there in the comments about that. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Think about signing up for the membership right there and less than a McDonald's combo, and that's everything you get with it. And I'll end up seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun one.